Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday morning. How y'all doing? This is not a pre-show, which is how we start every day of the week. So let me get this banner off of there. There we go. How's everybody today? I am awake. Stayed up way too late last night working on something. Wow, it's very yellowy looking here. Maybe that's my lights, huh? So maybe that's the sunshine because it's Sunday morning. It's not. It's just the way my lights are this morning. Look at me. Look at my face. Oh my goodness. I've been awake for probably the better part of an hour, but I didn't get out of bed till about 15 minutes ago. So my face is still like blah, squishy, sleepy face. How's your face today? Hey, Randall Flagg, good to see you. Cordia, nice to see you as well. And Steph Cuervo Queen is here. She's trying to listen. Sorry, I'm at work, so we'll jump in when I can. Oh, where are you working, Steph? I don't even know where you work. And what are you doing on a Sunday working? Shouldn't this be the weekend? You don't have to work. Hey, Sandra, good to see you as well. And so it's nice to have everybody gathering this morning. And I hope your day is going well so far. Of course, Sandra is probably the most advanced in her day because she's 6 hours ahead of us. So it's already 3 in the afternoon there. So everybody else, it's just a little after 9 a.m. here over in the central United States. Just having my first sip of coffee. Happy Sunday morning, Susie Q. Good to see you. And Morgan Snow is here. Good to see you. Hello, wonderful day to everyone, she says. So I'm glad to have you all. And you can see by my face that while my brain might be partially awoke, my face is not yet. Look at that. Oh, I splashed. I didn't even hop in the shower this morning. I just splashed water on my face and my head and said, okay, wake up. Coffee time. I woke up at about, what time did I go upstairs? And I made coffee about an hour ago, I guess. So at least that was steamy and warm. I came back downstairs. I was going to go do my card of the day for my TikTok. And I went, nah, I'm just going back to bed. So I stayed up too late finishing a project for a client. And it's almost finished. So it's practically finished. So there you go. Just a couple little details left on it. So I feel good about that. And what else we got going today? So how is everybody? Oh, there, I got my client got it. And one of the people that has to look at it. So that's good. Just an acknowledgement that they got it on their end. So that's good. Let's see. Kitty, what are you doing up on my desk? Get down. Hey, get down. You don't belong up there. I hate cats because they don't listen. Get down. Thank you. You gotta throw things at him. Get down off my desk. What's she doing on my desk? I've never seen him over on my desk over there. I've got a drawing table over on that side of the room. And I saw him moving around over there. So what are you doing up on my desk? So they get up there and they get into stuff is the problem. I had a cat once when I was working on Tam O'Hare. One of the paintings was just about finished, and the cat had done something to her foot, and she was bleeding. She wasn't like profusely bleeding. She was just had blood on the pads of her foot, and she walked across the painting in the middle of the night. And I got up in the morning. There's bloody cat prints across a finished painting. So I about panicked because that's about 8 to 10 hours of work down the drain. And so I took color and pigment and a little bit of water, and I was able to wash some of it out with brushes and water, like watercolor. And then I just worked it into the painting. So with colors. So I got it fixed. It wasn't like all over like faces of characters or anything, but it was on there. So, but that's part of the book, and you'll never know which page it is. So, Susie Q says, "Go Chiefs." I have not paid attention to football this year. I gotta tell you, to be very honest. Um, it has. I used to be a big fan of football. Used to really enjoy watching football, playing football, all that kind of stuff. But it got to the point somewhere along the way here, I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I stopped caring the NFL has gotten to be so commercial and so big that it's just like, oh my god, I can watch it. I can get hooked right away though. I can turn on a game and watch 3 minutes of a game while passing over it and get hooked. But other than that, not a big fan. Sandra watches rugby on TV now. Ireland versus Italy today. Now there would be a fun game to watch. Jason is here. Guten Morgen, Alice. Well, Guten Morgen, Alice, to you too. Who the fuck is Alice? Is that how the song goes? So, mm, mm-mm. So have you had enough hearing about the whole Biden thing? The whole thing with the and there is some big questions about um, the whole DOJ, Department of Justice thing on the investigation into Biden's taking his own private records home. To tell just the kind of hypocrisy that's played probably in the Biden thing. I don't remember, says Russ. That's where my head went right. The Biden thing. Um, the hypocrisy of the individual is very easy to see. The lying of the individual, unless he is just a doddering old senile man, as the DOJ report put it, the special counsel. Could he just not remember doing things? What is it? But he took for 40 years, took classified documents home, did not have the clearance to do that, was not president when he did it, unlike Trump. Did not help. He said that I remember he came out when they found documents at Mar-a-Lago and stuff like that, Trump's documents, and Trump's maintained I was president when I took those. I have a right to. He still maintains that, and so they raided Mar-a-Lago and all of that. And what does Biden do? He gets on in some interview on NBC or something, and you know, trashes Trump, of course, for taking home documents and saying it's just unconscionable. You just don't do that. When, in fact, he'd been doing it for 40 years himself and illegally was holding classified documents, illegally showed classified documents to other people. And so, where I'm saying, either he totally forgot that he had done that because of his mind, but he came right out and was excoriating Trump for having taken documents which legally he could have done. And there's the big question over that. That's what all the junk is about. But the interesting thing is watching a president do that when for 40 years he'd been doing even worse. And so that gives you that right there should just answer the question about the kind of character the man has. But it doesn't. It remains the way it is. And of course, the special counsel, her, H-U-R, I'm with her. I heard, who said that? Greg Gutfeld. He said, I'm with her. Remember Hillary Clinton's campaign when she was running? I'm with her. He says, I'm with her, H-U-R. But his whole claim was that, yeah, there's stuff here. There's things he should be prosecuted on, but we're not going to prosecute him because he's just a bumbling old man that has bad memory, and he's senile. Is basically what he said, and it would be against. We just wouldn't do that. There's no point in doing it. He has no memory, and because he's a bumbling old senile man. And of course, the White House got all bent about that. And have you heard any of uh, the uh, the White House justifications and the White House uh, um, trying to make their guy look good? How good Joe Biden is, how he's the sharpest tool in the shed. And I'm like, if I hear Kareem Jean Pierre tell us again anymore that he is the smartest man in the room, you want to go, oh, really? Um, hmm. Yeah, just like Comey did, Randall Flagg, very similar. But they're attacking her now for coming out with the DOJ report. So they're attacking him. You can't polish that turd, ain't that right, my butts? So I have to agree with you. And so is this going to end the Biden presidency? Probably not for criminal things or anything like that, but he's going to be probably eventually, maybe even before the election. Do you think he will be 25th Amendmented out? He has lost his capacity to lead, and so they would remove him. Congress would remove him from too feeble to prosecute, but he's okay to stay pres and run again, right, Ed? Hey, Ed, how you doing? That's exactly it. It's interesting that, and I read this for you the other day, but this is not original with me. But I put this up on my own post. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I thought it'd be right at my fingertips here, and it's not. Um, Special counsel Hur said Biden could not stand trial because, quote, Biden is a sympathetic, well meaning, elderly man with a poor, significantly limited memory, end quote. In other words, he's a cute, bumbling, senile old man. Can't take him to trial on this stuff. Can't be held responsible for 40 years of taking classified documents. Now, the Democrats came back, though. They say they accepted the special counsel's findings, but they excoriated her and want Americans in the world to believe that Joe Biden, despite all of that, is still capable of being president of the United States, the leader of the free world with his finger on the nuclear button for a second term. So, because they know he's not qualified anymore, but they can't admit that because this is what they've been told since before he was elected. So it becomes interesting to say the least to watch the election games being played, the political games being played. I watch what's going on with the way the White House is trying to cover for Joe Biden. Because and you know what they're doing? They're really starting to set the stage for why is it that the left is coming out very strongly now? People on the left, that mindset is coming out with, well, we don't really need a president, do we? Why do we need one? Why do we need a leader, a singular leader of the country? And they're saying that, and you notice that has really come up in just the last 3 years. The really strongly that they're advocating that. Why? Because according to the left hasn't needed one all the way along, and it's obvious. It shows. They haven't had a leader. They have had a figurehead that was elected, and the whoever's working it, I don't even know what to call them. We could use terms like the cabal, the handlers, the staff, the administration, the whoever's working in the White House, they're the ones running the country, and the president's making no decision. So, what are the second and third order effects of booting him out with the 25th Amendment? Well, let's find out, shall we? Let's get the 25th Amendment up and let's take a look at that, Jason. It was ratified after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and it provides the procedure for replacing the president in the event of death, removal, resignation, or incapacitation. So it's all about the 25th Amendment is all about presidential disability and succession. That's what, of course, if he's shot in the head from what was the line? Gunny Sergeant. Jason, you'd probably know this one off the top of your head from Full Metal Jacket. The famous Gunny Sergeant. That he said he's talking to the platoon, the troops, and he's saying, talking about firing their rifles, and I'm going to mangle the quote, but he says something about, he's degrading Oswald for having killed the president, but he says a headshot at 300 yards out fucking standing. So, and he said, that's what I want you all to be able to do. Something like that. Ernie, yeah, it was Ernie. And Ermy. So, says Randall Flagg. So, I can't remember the exact quote. Jason, why don't you work that quote up and call in if you're able to do that this morning. But back to the 25th Amendment, incapacitation. Let's see what the 25th Amendment says. It says this. Section 1 says this. In case of the removal of the president from the office of his death, from office, in case of the removal of the president from office, or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Okay, there you go. Clear cut. Section 2. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress. All right. Section 3 of 25th Amendment. Whenever the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration, sorry, I'm reading without my glasses, so I'm almost not squinting. So whenever the president transmits to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he's unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration of the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. Section 4, this one's longer. This is the final section of the amendment. Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may law provide, transmit to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office unless the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit within 4 days to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, period. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for that purpose, if not in session. If the Congress within 21 days after receipt of the letter written declaration or if Congress is not in session within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble, determines by 2/3 vote of both houses that the president is unable to discharge the powers and the duties of his office. The vice president shall continue to discharge the same as acting president. Otherwise, the president shall resume the powers and duty of his office. Boom, 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 boom. That's simple. It's complicated, but it's simple. Yes, hello. What can I do for you? You're here for? You don't know? Hi. Why don't you go upstairs? Hang with Mom. Unless you want to sit down here and do something in the dark.
I don't need my flyers.
I know. I know. I already know this.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thank you for coming while I'm on the radio, reminding me. It's not really radio. It's a podcast this morning, but you get the idea. It's all radio to them. So, Ed Weeb says it's probably who can be president that Obama can still have control of. It's probably who can be president that Obama can still have control of. Biden is Obama's proxy, AKA we are in Obama's third term and he needs his fourth. Well, there's that. He's definitely got a lot of control from behind the scenes. How much control is the big question. How much control has he been given? He has no legal authority to do anything. So who in the White House would follow anything he has to say? That's the big question. Who is running the country and why, and how much power do they have to wield influence? So, hey, we got Jason coming in over there. How you doing?
Hey, doing all right.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's all right. I get it.
So there is entirely too much dialogue in that scene to
yes. There is a lot of dialogue
in that instance, but it basically boils down to, Lee Harvey Oswald, assassinated Kennedy with, an old Italian rifle, bolt-action rifle, and managed to squeeze off 3 shots in 60 seconds and scored 2 hits and one of them a headshot.
Outstanding.
Yeah, you know what he was? Private Snowball. He's like, a Marine, sir? A Marine, outstanding.
A Marine. That's right.
Yeah. So, you kind of started touching on it there when I asked my question. Yes. And here's one of the things that a lot of people, when they look at stuff, don't do. And that is look at the second and third order and even fourth order impacts of taking some sort of action.
Right.
And what I would like to know are, what are those second and third order impacts of enacting the 25th Amendment to try and do something like that?
Now, are you talking legal impacts or are you talking consequential impacts?
Consequential impacts.
Okay.
The legalese is pretty much
it's done, said and done. It's cut and dry.
Yeah, it's all set there. I'm not worried about the legalese. The process is there. If A or B or C happens, then D, E, and F will proceed, until at such time as deemed necessary, it changes.
Yes.
But what are the global ramifications? What are the internal ramifications in terms of the country? In terms of, is there potential for unrest? Is there, potential for increased activity by potential or clearly identified adversaries outside of our borders? Like, what happens if we do that? And when you look at that, you have to look at who are those people in line after, and are those people going to be competent enough? And so that's why it's one of those things you got to be hesitant to use, and you have to use it very prudently.
Well, they were talking about using it for Trump. The left was, and, to claim that he was incompetent, and of course it was trumped up pardon the very real pun there.
Being an asshole doesn't mean you're incompetent.
That's it. That's it. He was an ass, and that was it. You know, he was a likable ass to you, or you hated him because he was an ass. So there's all kinds of civics lessons that we could dive into about the ramifications of implementing the 25th Amendment. What happens when we remove a president? Shall we speculate a little bit here? What do you think? What would be your first reaction, Jason? What would we already kind of know where the country's going to be. We're already 50-50 split on everything these days anyway. We already know kind of how that's going to. I'm less concerned about how the country would act than I'm concerned about foreign affairs, foreign matters. How will I just read something from somebody not very long ago, some article just the other day. I don't remember who it was, nobody that I can think of important wise. It was just another one of these commentary writers writing about Biden and his place in the world. Oh, I was looking at some articles on somebody give me some information on how the world is perceiving the United States right now. Are we perceived as being in a good way or a bad way? Let's boil it down to those simplest of terms. Because I keep hearing everybody on the right say, well, we're a laughing stock to the world because of our president. But then the left said that about Trump. But then I saw a poll that was taken. I don't know, this new poll in Europe. And this is it was on a place called Roll Call. And in a new poll, Europeans expressed little faith in America's future influence. And Europeans fear Trump's return, but also are soured on Biden's politics. So, in other words, they just dislike the United States. But they'll take our money.
Well, I'm not even sure if it's something that's really a matter of they dislike the United States as much as it is.
Yep.
I mean, there's probably that aspect with a lot of them, right?
I'm using that as the simplest of terms.
Yeah. It's probably because I would say it's more really along the lines of concern, because the United States has such a huge impact on the global stage. If you don't have competent leadership, if you don't have competent policy making, if you're watching internal struggle and infighting that is preventing the production of effective and competent policies and lawmaking, etc., decision making, that could create a lot of anxiety.
Yes.
Because now you're looking at potentially a major stabilizing force no longer being the major stabilizing force. And as we all know, when you have a major driving force leaves, there creates it creates a power vacuum. Now, what fills in the vacuum?
And the question is is that major driving force the individual of the president, or is it the perception of what the office brings? Because you can say, has Joe Biden been influential? Yeah, he really has been, but not influential in a positive way. So when the influence of the Oval Office, is it the Oval Office? Is it the what people would say is the common sense of the United States, or the United States acting as a force for good? Some would say for a force for evil, depending on what side of the stick they're on.
Yeah, that all matters on perspective.
Yes. And so here's the big question then. When the other world leaders and other countries look at us, I think the common person, okay, you ask the common person on the street in the United States about politics in Ghana, or politics, and let's get a little closer to them, Germany or France or Belgium. They're not going to know squat.
No.
Most of the people you ask on the street don't know anything about our own government and how it operates. So
We are
the
painfully
perceptions,
unaware as a society.
yes. So the perceptions out there in Europe are perceptions that are given to them by what? By whom? By the news media. They hear the news. They see the things going on. Uh, Professor Bauer, I saw the links, but I didn't open them. I have not had a chance to do that yet. I was just absolutely sunk all day yesterday in a big client project, which took me till about 3 this morning.
But what's
So,
really important, Scotty, though, is
yes.
the great revelation that's going to occur. You're going to see. Yes, I'm baiting you, Professor.
It's the great reset. It's the great
The great
where
reset.
nothing
The great
is
reset.
anything, and meaningless is meaning, and meaning is meaningless. And
Yes, I am goading. I'm trying to goad the professor to coming on.
you're trying to goad him to come in here, huh?
Yeah, because I always enjoy his company on the shows.
I do too, and I don't disagree with him as much as I might have looked like I did on Friday. But
Right.
my
Well, and that's one
disagreements
of the.
are never vehement. They're never like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you sack of stinking shit! You are so." Oh, wait! What was the old Saturday Night Live? Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin. Jane, you ignorant slut. And
Didn't that get you into hot water a while back?
yes, I called somebody that in tongue in cheek. I was quoting Saturday Night Live and went, "Oh, Sally, you ignorant slut." In
See,
an
but
online
this
debate.
plays in perfectly though, as a wonderful
Yes,
granted on a micro scale, not macro,
yes,
um, a woefully unaware society
yes.
because people don't catch references, they don't understand things.
Right.
Some of that's going to be generational,
Yep.
but we do tend to walk around in our own microcosms, not paying attention to everything that's going on. I'm guilty of it, right? And I'll be the first one to admit it. At least I'm aware that I do it, though.
Well, yeah, yeah. And in that particular instance, the person was old enough to know the reference, and it was a debate that was going on over them using a black actress to play the Little Mermaid
Oh Jesus, who
before
cares?
the movie even came out.
Yeah,
And I said, well, creatively, I said I kind of like the why change what wasn't broken. I said I think Disney is just being woke here, and I said
are
I
you
don't
are you
really.
making change? Are you making changes to improve upon something,
Yes,
or are you just making changes for the sake of just making a change,
that's
whether
what I
it's
said. Of course,
popularity or anything like that? Yeah.
all the arguments from everybody, the younger set was more, "You're just racist," and I said, "No, that has nothing to do with race. The only thing that has to do with race is did Disney changing from using somebody that's white to somebody that's darker skinned." I said, "I don't really care." I said, "But what you just said," I said, "change for the sake of just changing something up to look woke," I said, "is a problem for me." And I said, "I don't think that has creative currency at all." And
Right.
well, the debate raged on, and somebody trying to convince everybody else of what a putz I was and everything else. And I said, "Oh, somewhere in there, it's where I used, 'Oh, Sally, you ignorant slut,' because she was throwing out insults,
Right.
and she did not take that bait. No, and I knew she was in her 40s or early 50s, and I said, she said something like,
Well,
"I
you got
can't
to be
believe
fair,
you told
Scotty.
me." What?
You got to let's be fair.
Yeah.
40s. Look, I
Well,
get. I'm only a toe hold into my 40s, but
mhm.
there are plenty of people that I know who are in the 40s who don't remember the
Chevy
1970s and
Chase,
the early
yeah.
to mid
It
80s.
was Chevy Chase, not Dan Aykroyd.
Because they didn't watch it, whereas I grew up being babysitted in the afternoons by Comedy
Well, I
Central,
actually
which
said to her,
explains a lot.
I said, I said I was using the old Chevy Chase Jane Curtin interaction quote. And she goes, "Oh, I know exactly precisely where it came from. I just
Uh,
think it's inappropriate, and that's inappropriate language." And she's all camping on that. And I said, "Well, then let's move on from that." I said, "You didn't get the joke." So I said, did Chevy Chase really believe Jane Curtin was an ignorant slut? No, it was a part he was playing. And I said, this was just for fun to lighten the mood. I said, but you didn't take the lighten the mood bait. I said, so let's stay serious. And
but that's going back, I think that's why it's really important that people make a better effort of being more aware of what's going on in the world, in their own local community, in their own country, and not get it just from the the steady stream of easily digestible sound bites from the news media. There's I know I've put the link up for you before, or I've mentioned that there's a YouTube channel called Speak the Truth, and it's a former Green Beret and his buddy who they break down a lot of combat footage of things going on in Ukraine and Israel, all of that. But he also did a breakdown of the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin. And
I haven't seen that yet.
There's a lot of people who are up in arms about it, and it's like, look, nobody else is going over there to interview the guy.
Yeah.
And Tucker Carlson was actually sitting there being like, hold on, wait a minute. So you're telling me da 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 da, like he are there things he could have been tougher on, question wise? Sure.
Somebody said that they thought he was terrified of Putin. I think he was.
They were laughing in there,
I think he was respectful of who Putin is.
Right.
I did see one piece of commentary, just for a very slight, talking about that. They said, here you've got Joe Biden, who is turning down the traditional halftime during the Super Bowl interview of the president.
Mm-hmm.
Of course he's going to turn that down. He can't go one-on-one. So he turns that down. But you've got a contrast in Putin, who does a 2-hour plus interview with
and he spends a full half hour discussing the history of Russia.
Yes. And they said this is a guy where the left tried to make the left lied in two instances about these leaders over the war in Ukraine. That, number one, that Biden was not infirmed. He had complete control of his faculties. He was in charge. He knows what's going on. Lie number one. Lie number two, Putin, because of the shaky leg thing, his pasty pallor when he was sick or something, is infirmed and dying of cancer or whatever, and wants to reclaim the Crimea before he dies. And that was lie number two. It's all propaganda. Something I have grown to just really hate is that people in office just can't fucking tell the truth. Tell us the way it really is. Don't tell us what your version of it is or what you want us to believe, which is the propaganda game that's been played for thousands of years, I'm sure. And so this is where it gets disturbing watching what's going on. Oh, we got the chief stirrer of pots here as just hanging back in the wings. He took the bait and he splashed water on his face, took a shot of scotch, and he is now hanging in the wings. Here he is, live and in the flesh. We have Professor Bauer. I'm going to change things up in here a little bit. Oh, and I see Jennifer over in the chat room. How you doing? Good to see you. Don't see enough of you. She says, wholeness all just popped in to say hi when I saw the notification. I'm glad you're here. Kate. Heckett. How do you pronounce it? Heckett. But that's Jennifer Roberts. So everybody, good to have you.
I knew he wouldn't be able to resist. As soon as I started doing a really bad impression of him, he was like, all right, I got to do something about this nonsense.
I got to come in here and clean this
I got to come in
up
and clear these guys up.
Because you guys are clearly failing at the early morning hour on a Sunday of Super Bowl, by the way. And it's going to be I'm going to put my prediction down. It's going to be the 49ers. There's going to be a Taylor Swift sadness that's going to sweep the nation of all of
Yeah.
the
And she'll write a
Fools
new album over it.
and
Yeah.
I mean, aren't all of her songs about losses in relationships and how terrible they've been? Isn't that
Yeah.
where she's made all of her
Well,
money?
but here's the
You know
thing:
what?
we writers write what they know.
They write what they know.
So
Right.
if you're songwriting, you write what you know about. So you can't really fault her.
How long ago did she
For
get
that.
her start? I know she got her start on what? Not America's Got Talent, the other one.
I don't
Were you
know, but she was
Voice?
still
Simon
in high
Cowell and
school.
all that.
Yeah, The Voice.
She was
Not the
She was
Voice.
still in high
The other
school.
one. The other one. What the heck is
America's
it called?
Got Talent.
So no. Oh, what's the name I'm seeing the logo and everything, and I can't.
Bandstand.
What?
Dick
Bandstand.
Clark's Bandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
American Bandstand. That's it. It was Dick Clark that discovered her. See, now that would be me pulling a Biden. Yeah, back when I met Dick Clark at the airport when Tyler Swift was first getting her start on his show, American Idol. Jeez, there it is. Thank you, Joseph.
Look, I'm just
show.
going to put it out right now. You cannot fault the woman one bit for
Not
the
at all.
success that she's had. She has worked her butt off.
I don't.
She's earned every bit of it. Now, there are some things that you can actually truthfully complain about properly, and that's like if she's making environmental or political statements, and then burning how much Jet A over the course of however long. It's like, you kind of start developing problems.
The only Tyler I like is
Liv.
Liv Tyler.
Perry.
Hello.
Mason. No, that's different. No,
Liv.
not Mason. That's Perry.
Eowyn. Not Eowyn. What was her?
Yeah,
Arwen.
Liv
in Lord of the Rings. Man, my brain is going all Biden on me this morning.
Do you know that she has a bunch of Lord of the Rings memorabilia stashed in her crawl space in her house?
Yes.
Like action figures, and she got a replica of the sword she carried and stuff like that. Talk about somebody being absolutely just in love with the project that they were on.
It was so cool in that.
So cool.
And that really made her a household name, those movies. And she was
It wasn't Empire Records.
And then when I met Raini to me was the come to life. That's as close to Arwen as you could get. Now, I would never tell Raini, I only started dating you because you looked like Arwen. But I kept trying to put her in silks and pointy ears.
You realize these are saved, right? She could just go back and watch you say that, right?
Right.
I'm just.
Well, she was here.
Let me throw it out there.
Scotty and Raini.
The internet.
So, I started dating you because the kids will watch every now and then. Lord of the Rings will be on, or we'll see something Lord of the Rings. I go, now who does that look like to you? Well, that looks like Mom. I go, yes, it does, doesn't it? And
well, in the category of marrying up, I have to say that if they do get hitched, that old Kelsey, what's his first name? Travis?
Don't even know his name.
Don't care. He is definitely up in the game for us.
Oh, Travis Kelce.
In marrying up. I mean, she's worth, 10 times his. So, I mean,
and she's hotter than he is.
Kind of pulling a, John Ketchup Carey kind of model. But going back to the whole demise of the emotional constructs of stability of those that are in the Swiftie camp,
yes.
Are going to lose their shit when they lose today. Yeah, and tying it back to the other thing that you mentioned earlier
the 49ers cannot win.
Yeah,
I still have beef with the 49ers over beating the Cincinnati Bengals at the Super Bowl.
Back in 1989.
Get over it. The stakes are much higher now, Jason.
I stopped watching professional football after that. I was so mad at the Bengals.
This is much more important.
Right.
You get over your temporary emotional losses. But here's the thing that I think is analogous and ties into this bullshit is what you were talking about with Tucker and the Poot. Okay, watching these folks on the left lose their absolute whatever sanity they had left over this, and all of the ad hominems and all of the crap and the way they're trying to spin this is so entertaining. It's just absolutely gold.
It is
because here's what I would like to know. Here's what I would really like to know. Tucker Carlson and his crew have made claims, and I don't know how much they've been backed up. I haven't researched into it enough because I have other pressing matters, I'll be honest. That they're
What?
saying that something about the right, something saying that the administration, basically monitored all of their communications and then blocked their first attempt, and then they tried to block this second attempt, and they were just like, "We're going with it."
No, for Tucker to even go over there.
Oh,
yeah.
Tucker's got it. Tucker's got it all documented on the first attempt, and they were clearly monitoring all of his staff's communications, and it's without dispute. And there was dispute going after the Poot.
Why wouldn't they want him to talk to Putin? Why would they want to prohibit that? Wouldn't they think, "Oh, this is going to be worth watching"?
No, because they can't let somebody else's propaganda step on the propaganda that they're trying to control. Now, when you have something that large, I think that when I looked yesterday morning, I think it was up to 190 million views.
To a certain extent, I can't.
That's more than all of the legacy media gets in a collective year.
Right. I can understand, and I actually don't fault the government for monitoring what's going on with that, because you do have a person who's going to interview a massive person in terms of what's going on in the world stage. And so it's good to be aware. Now, like I would, and maybe you've seen the documentation. I haven't seen it yet, Prof, but I would like to know what the, attempts made and the efforts made to block him going over there the first time were. If it was like, was it something like, "Nope, don't approve the visas, we're not approving this, and that guy ain't talking to anybody, screw Tucker Carlson," or if it was like, "Hey, look, Tuck, here's the deal, man. We're worried that if you go over there, what are going to be the ramifications on a larger scale? Maybe you should exercise some more caution with this." That probably I would consider that sort of response I would consider, reasonably, acceptable, because you have legitimate concerns.
How much do you suppose they wanted to control once they couldn't stop him? They wanted to control what he was going to say, what he was going to ask.
It'd be interesting to see
this. You need to dig into this. You need to do this. Did they try to do anything to block the interview from airing anywhere? Because that was all internet, so
they couldn't hear. And this is
that's it.
I was on a show last night, and we talked about this. The rise of the pissed off peeps is upon us, and what that means is all of the information that has been sequestered, suppressed,
as it will be known in history,
mangled and manipulated,
talk amongst yourselves,
can no longer be contained. I mean, look at what's happened with all of the media. And we were talking about this last night. If you look at the mainstream, what I call the legacy media, all of their numbers are going this way. And all of the people that they tried to cancel, the Carlsons, the Brands, the Rogans, the Petersons, all of these are all going up. So they tried to shut those guys down and failed miserably, because all they did was make them even more popular and give them more of a voice and more access. So their strategy was not thought through very well. They acted on goals and emotions for immediate results and didn't think in the long term, and they ended up screwing themselves in the end, which is, I think, just absolutely brilliant. I heard earlier today that Tucker not only interviewed the Poot, but he also got to Snowden, and that's coming as well. And that's another data set, probably a more important data set, that is going to be exposing all of this corruption and this crap that the cabal, which I refer to as kind of a family, like a mafioso kind of organization, where you've got all these little fiefdoms and they go along to get along, but in reality they're fighting one another because they're all fighting over whatever turf that they've got left. So I think that you're seeing this organic decline of all of this crap, and we don't have to worry about it anymore, because as opposed to trying to break through or trying to maintain your voice and get your information out, organically that's happening on its own, because they have lost control and they have displayed such a a high level of optimal incompetence that it's falling apart under its own weight. It's self-destruction. And I think
Yes.
it's just absolutely high
It's
entertainment.
fascinating to watch.
Oh,
I-
I'm absolutely loving the shit out of this
Me
because
too.
as we all have been for the last several years, the last 5 in particular, with all of this bullshit on this, the
Well,
vax and the vaccine and and all this
and
crap.
in a nutshell, in a very layman's simplistic terms of looking at the whole situation, we could dig into this in great detail, but why do you think the left in particular is trying to stringently restrict the internet? Why do they want to have the powers over what gets said, what doesn't get said? Who
Well,
gets to pull the plug on it? Who?
well, that's because they're trying to control the narrative.
Yes,
And the narrative that they have
it's
that
already
they
controlled
started
in the
with,
media, so they
yeah, they're
can't.
trying to control it because it's antithetical to what they want people to
Right.
hear and to know. So once the information gets out and people are able to use their own discernment, use their own judgment, two of the things that you're not supposed to do because you
Right.
can't do that. You might offend somebody. You might trigger
Right, right.
their emotional instabilities. It's like bullshit. Okay,
You could
if
you could
if you're that
disseminate
weak, that's
medical
your problem.
disinformation by talking about the DOJ and China labs prior to COVID. You can get in trouble for that now.
Not
And it
anymore.
has nothing. That's medical misinformation.
Yeah, that was at the beginning, but that's now YouTube is allowing that. They might put up their
But
little
see, that's
Wikipedia
why I got
context warnings.
my one hard strike on YouTube was for you and I having that brief 10-second exchange about that. And I said, let's not talk about that. And I got a hard strike for that.
Mm-hmm.
And but now you can kind of talk about that. And but that
Well,
was
because
only
there's so
6
much
months ago.
information that supports it. What's happened is the information in the narrative has dynamically changed because the information that says and proves something opposite is now freely available, and it's so all over the place that it's hard to discount it. You can only suppress
Mhm.
it. You can deny it and dismiss it as much as you want, but you can't get rid of it. And there's too many. That's why I call it the rise of the pissed off peeps. There's all this
Yes.
great stuff going on where people are saying, my bullshit meter's gone off too many times.
Yep.
My needle's broken because it's pegging in the red all the
That's
time.
right.
So there's some bullshit that needs to be re-examined in order for me to get my meter back into working order, which it is in working order because the amount of stuff that's coming at you is nothing but pure bullshit.
That's
You
it.
can't believe the news. You can't believe anything that comes out of any legacy media. You can't believe the government. You can't believe the financial institutions. You can't believe science. You can't believe any of this stuff because they've proven themselves, particularly over the last 5 years, to be completely incompetent and purposely so. They
Yes.
have been on a tear of being intentionally incorrect, so that and with the attempt to try to navigate and steer the herd.
Yes.
Well, the herd is woke up. The herd's going, I
Well-
don't know about that shit anymore.
Well, exactly. And here's the thing. Ed says here, not saying that was misinformation, but misinformation is still free speech, and speech must remain free.
Absolutely.
Well, here's the thing. The way they try to circumvent that is Facebook is not the government. So Facebook, this is their claim. Facebook is not the government. They're a private institution. They own Facebook. So if you say something, or whoever owns YouTube, if you say something that's against their rules, they can ban you. They can believe whatever they want. They could be the Ku Klux Klan channel. And if you speak against the Klan, well, they could drop you. And that's not a violation of your free speech until you start finding out that the government is behind. You need to do this. You need to clip these wings. You need to curtail this speech. You need to push this narrative, as we found out with the Mark Zuckerberg, the Zuck, and all the stuff that went on behind the scenes. And then it becomes the government is trying to limit free speech.
Well, and I think that Ed's point is perfect. And no, we do not want the misinformation sequestered. We don't want it
Nope.
suppressed. We want it out there.
So we can
Because
determine whether or not. Yeah.
Exactly. In the theater of ideas and discourse, if you don't have both sides of whatever people are out there, going on about, if you don't have both sides, you don't have all the information. It's like Twain famously quipped, if you listen to the news, you're misinformed. If you don't listen to the news, then you're
right.
misinformed as well. So
Hey,
you've got
by the way,
misinformation if you listen to it, and you're misinformed if you don't.
I just want to say before you take off, Heckett, Jennifer Roberts need to talk to you. So not right here on channel, but need to talk to you. So we'll talk again soon. Glad you stopped by this morning, by the way. Have fun with the Chinese New Year celebrations. Go ahead, Professor. Sorry.
Well, so my point is that free speech is what is fixing the crap speech. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I want all these people with these brain-stained ideologies to have a free platform to speak their piece.
Yes.
Get it out there. Let us hear what you got to say. Yeah. And throw it into the theater of ideas and the community of conversation. And let's see how it stands up. That's what debates were when we were in school, and we learned how to actually have respectful and intellectual discourse, and none of that.
Well, that's what debates were with presidential elections. I mean, and now look what they've devolved into. You have 12 people up on stage, all of them fighting for a soundbite and a mic drop, rather than discussing the issues. Now, I will say, probably one of single-handedly the greatest debate moments in American political history. That was televised was Nixon and Jack Kennedy. And the biggest reason for that was the fact that Jack Kennedy was like, you know what? I don't want to be over at this podium because it's under the most lights, and I'm going to go ahead and do makeup even though we're on black and white TV, because the lighting can affect things. Like, he understood that, his advisors understood that, and Nixon was like,
"And who sweat?
Man, I ain't putting on makeup."
Nixon,
right?
When people saw him wiping his sweat, they thought he has been backed into the corner by JFK.
Exactly, and he's just right, wrong, or indifferent on that one. I mean, there's plenty of things that people would say that, hey, maybe Kennedy should have, been president starting then, versus Kennedy. Yeah. Everybody's going to have their own opinions, but, I think we probably ended up, at least for the brief period of time that we had him, ended up with the better of the two candidates. Mm-hmm. You had somebody with Kennedy who had been to war, intimately knew and understand what warfare is like and the second and third order effects, and was very, very cautious about how they employed the military, how they employed international policy, what kind of message they were sending, and things like that. I would say, more so than his successor.
Well, do you remember that back when Dick Nixon was the vice president under Eisenhower, okay? Mm-hmm. And there was an entire
Joseph.
It was some kind of scandal thing. There was some questions, I think, about his finances or something, and he went on TV and he did this whole kind of mea culpa. It was like the precursor to the "I'm not a crook" thing, but he went on and talked about how he had gotten this gift of this dog, and that was part of this alleged scandal of him receiving gifts or some shit. And he addressed the nation on television with the dog Sparkles or something. Yeah. And it was really empathetically and heartfelt, or at least that's the way it appeared. But that was my point is that when he got on the debate stage with JFK, that was not his first time being in front of a camera and trying to sell himself. Okay.
Right.
Right.
But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you guys hold your thoughts for a minute. I may not be back before this runs out. I'm just going to play the intro to the show and go warm up my coffee. So everybody sit tight. Don't go away. If my empty chair pops up, these two will still be here. So sit
Yeah, we
tight.
Then
will.
we'll have a real show.
There you go. Yeah, then they'll have a real show. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh God, where did the professor go? Oh, did he leave us? Is he gone? All right. I'll be right back with some coffee.
Well, he's not back yet. So I guess that means it's just us. And that's a terrifying proposition.
Oh, so I see something here in the chat by George. Professor, so tell me at one time the people trusted Trump and voted him in by the people. So as now, why can't they trust him anymore?
Sure, just like
So
sex.
can Trump be a president and a commander-in-chief of the armed forces because they already have proof that, what does it say here? They already have proof that Trump traded or sold. Oh, okay, George, you've bought the Kool-Aid, my friend. There is so much more information that would change your statement there if you were aware of it. All of that stuff that you just said is part of the curated, crafted narrative that is by those who are afraid of Trump. And why are they afraid of Trump? Because he's the only one that can go in and fix them and get them corrected. Because if you don't think that our government and our political process and those that are on the left, the ideological folks that identify with the left, the liberal, the progressive, if you don't think that that's not a bunch of brain-stained folks that have been hoaxed by their own hoaxes, then you've got a lot of information that you still need to go get yourself to add to your perspective, because you're missing a whole bunch of data and this is one thing that is clearly obvious when you talk to people and you try to figure out what it is, what information set have they made themselves available to or made available to themselves to try to come up with a reasoned, critical thinking analysis of the information that's available. The folks on the left miss a whole bunch of stuff. The difference is the people on the right, if you will, of those delineations are inundated by the shit that comes out of the left. The left owns the media. The left owns the government. The left owns all these different all these data feeds that people are being just completely inundated with. So you can't miss what the left is saying, but you can miss what the right is saying because of what we were talking about earlier, all of the suppression. So George, I would highly recommend that you go get some additional data, because all of this crap about Trump, if Trump was going to had this dictatorial, maniacal method and means behind his approach, why didn't he do that the first time he was president?
Well, somebody just said to me the other day, how can you say that? Trump came right out and said he wants to be the dictator. I said, I saw that.
Not what he said.
This is as far I said to that person, this is as far as your critical thinking goes, to say, oh, I heard Trump say. I said, you know what he was actually saying? Yeah, lefties, I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. I'm your
That's
dictator.
right. And they took the bait. They take the bait
didn't catch
every
that.
time.
They didn't catch the nuance of his comedic sarcasm.
Well, that's something actually that has been very prevalent since the whole beginning of everything. And when I say the beginning of things, I'm not just talking like this second run. I'm talking his whole tenure in office. That there has been it, and again, this is just my view of things. But there's been either a purposeful, it could be purposeful because, hey, he's the opposition to them, and so they're going to do whatever. But it's either purposeful or willful lack of ability, demonstrated lack of ability to look at nuance, to understand or pick up on
Jason. It's
sarcasm, right?
A way to pick apart an argument. We did this in debate class in high school,
right? Yeah, I try to play as fair as I can when I make a statement like that. I like to play fair ball when I can. So I do give a little bit of a benefit of the doubt at times, but I also do point out that it could be one or the other. But how many things has he been said that have been taken out of context or have been twisted around some other way? That they only do the bits and pieces, sound bites to push their own narrative.
Well,
that's
Jason,
dangerous.
that speaks to the whole point that
legacy
I was making
media
about
picks
the
up
left.
on that, so.
The folks on the left that are deathly afraid of Trump have created a bunch of hoaxes that they've been hoaxed by their own hoaxes. So, for example, the whole Russian collusion thing, complete hoax. The whole drinking bleach thing, complete hoax. The people, the good people in Charlottesville, complete hoax.
By hookers.
I mean, there is one. They have created a
whatever
litany
floats your
of
boat.
hoax, a laundry list of crap that they've created and tried to throw at him, and it's all been proven to be bullshit. Now, the people on the left that still believe that haven't been exposed or are willing to look at the actual data to see how much they have been succumbed to by their own crap.
Well,
so
and that also kind of nods to the humorous side, at least for me, it's humorous, of things with people who shout follow the science, right?
Oh God.
Actual scientists, with the introduction of new evidence, will, if they can't defend their own theory against it because the introduction of the new evidence changes things, and it actually does, they change their standpoint. That's what scientists do. That's what ethical scientists do in the presence of new data.
They do that.
They re-examine and change their opinion.
Well, they do that if they're following the scientific method, which is what scientists are supposed to do.
And then that's why I throw in ethical scientists.
Always questioning the hypothesis, the theories, and constantly looking at new information and adding that to the data stack, the formulas, the math, the models, the men and the machines, and trying to figure out what it is that has changed. The Big Bang Theory has been completely blown out of the water by the James Webb Space Telescope. And here's another thing. How many have you noticed the amazing amount of slippery spin that the folks on the left are doing after this special counsel report, and Biden getting up there by himself and making a complete buffoon out of himself with his own speech? I mean, the abject elderly abuse that's going on with this guy, and as being the leader of the free world, is clear for anybody with just two eyes and a mind. You don't even have to have open of either one. If you look at anything that's coming out of this guy and the people that are trying to support him and defend him, you look at it and you go, I'm sorry, how the hell do you say that somebody who can't string two sentences together, fumbles words, sees dead people, is constantly having conversations with people that didn't exist? I mean, excuse me? How in the hell is this something that you find acceptable? Because the reason they have to accept it is because their TDS is so infected and so metastasized within their own minds that it doesn't matter how bad their guy is. They think that the other guy is that much worse. And that's simply because of their own, they've hoaxed themselves with their own hoaxes. I mean, it is literally so blatantly obvious that at this point you go, well, you guys are obviously cornered animals. You're throwing everything you can because you know that you're on your way out because none of your shit is sustainable. Nobody is believing the drivel that you're dispersing amongst the people. That's why I say it's the rise of the pissed off peeps. We have now gotten to the point where we're going, you know what? I'm sorry, we listened to this. We kind of went along with it. All of the things that have been named by officialdom as to be accurate and true have turned out to be exactly the opposite.
Yes.
And data and information is out now. You can't suppress the information. You can only try to attack it to give it some kind of to try to diminish the credibility of the truth. And here's another thing too that I think is really important. You hear people talk about two things, either the facts or the truth. Facts are immutable. Truth is an interpretation.
Yes.
Right.
And that distinction is lost on the many. Facts
I think
are the thing that everybody needs to work towards, and that's what the scientific method is.
There, I misspelled it twice in the chat room. That's what I get for trying to listen and type at the same time. I still love, and it's so simple. It's not overused, but it's simple. I love John Adams' quote, and I've had it for, God, probably 12 years or more on my emails. Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. John Adams said that.
I think some of the stuff that we've seen, kind of, Professor, going back to what you were saying, I think in a certain regard, just because of human nature, we probably should have expected a lot of what we saw in terms of the emotional responses. That's a very human thing to do. We tend to align ourselves with which we believe. You have the confirmation bias, and then eventually as the information comes out, eventually as people see more stuff, as it becomes more obvious, then you start seeing the shift. So, maybe that's what we're seeing right now is that, we've sat here in our emotions, we've believed these things, we're going to go through a little bit of cognitive dissonance for a while, and then, crap, we were wrong.
Yeah.
Or, man, we were right.
Politically, they can't come back and say, oops, we were mistaken. Or hey, you know what, you guys, you're right. We were wrong about
and
this.
That's the sad
they can't
thing.
do that because to them, they'll be losing all credibility, and they won't be able to retain the power of the office.
And see, that's one of those things that I vehemently disagree with, is that this preconceived notion that has been built into the system by people within the system and probably by behaviors of society, but where it's if we tell the truth, or if we come back and admit to a mistake, somehow we are undermining ourselves. When I think, and maybe I'm dealing with some of my own confirmation bias here. I'm more than willing to admit that as being a possibility. But I honestly think that the majority of people, if somebody is honest about something and honest about making a mistake, they have more respect.
Yeah.
They may not like them as much, but they have more respect for them for being honest and owning their missteps than if they would sit there and just blow smoke the entire time and not
Jason,
do so.
What are the requirements to be in that state of self-reflection? And to me, there's a couple of things. One, you have to be self-aware, and
Right.
two, you have to ratchet back the ego component a bit, and you have to have some humility.
And that is hard to
more
do.
importantly, in order to have those two, you've got to have some authenticity and integrity.
Yeah.
And those are things that if you don't have, your ability to go in and do some kind of self-examination, realize you screwed up and you were wrong, and then be able to say it and admit it freely that's not something that people who are stuck on ego, stuck on their own truth, on their own piety, can do. That's just not in the mix.
And therein lies the problem that is inherent in the system. to rip a little bit off of Monty Python.
It's an error in the system. So yes. Well, we solved that problem.
Oh, I sent you something on Messenger, Scotty. I wanted to share just in case it got lost in the stuff. I think I actually sent it to a group chat between the professor, you, and I. Totally unrelated. I just wanted to share. Just want to make sure that didn't get lost in the sauce.
You and I. By the way, Rudy Dog went through. He sent me some messages. If you didn't know this, he did his. He had a stent either put in or blown up. I can't remember which it was. So he's doing better. And he's got other stuff going on too. So there you go. Let's see. I am going to my messages. I want to see what you got in here.
Yeah, it was Facebook Messenger. So.
Oh, that's hats. What is that? Where'd you get that?
So it's a vintage Stetson that I found on eBay.
Yeah.
And I was like,
nice.
All right, let's play with something like this. I'd like the pecan color or whatever that is. And so I ordered it. It showed up yesterday. And in between doing stuff with packing and cleaning up and getting the house prepped for going on the market and whatnot, on my break time, I was fiddling with the hat.
Have you taken and rebashed the old hat? Is that what you?
So I reblocked the old hat.
Reblocked it.
Yeah, and I have yet to put in the sweatband and the liner.
Very nice. You put a ribbon on it, folks. I can't show you these pictures without. Well, here I can, but by doing it a different way. Hold on a second. Let me show you what he sent. As you all know, Jason is making hats these days. And so I'm going to just quickly share my screen with you. Otherwise, I'd have to pull all these pictures down and convert them to PDFs.
I love how your screen does the screen within screen within screen.
Yes, yes. Here we go. This is the hat that he ordered right here. And let's see. We can advance it. There's the old Stetson. Just like that. I like the furrow. It's got the one furrow down the middle. Now he's taken that hat and done this. He has reblocked it. And is that your... That almost looks like a cake mixer in the background.
No, that's a steamer for
it's your
steaming
steamer.
clothes, just a handheld steamer.
And so he's put a new hat band on it, and the bow, and you said you put the liner in this.
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't gotten to the liner in the sweatband yet. They were pretty rough.
That's
so
pretty
I'll
cool.
be. Yeah, but I figured I would share.
Part of his alcohol collection in the back here. Right where it's handy is the utensils by the stove.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for cooking purposes.
Yes. Yes. All right. So I will go back here and stop sharing my screen. Stop
Quick,
sharing.
look at his tab. See what he has open.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got everything open. I just picked up. I read a great review, and so I picked up this book. I'll show you totally different thing. And Professor, you can chime in on this too. We don't have to talk all politics this morning, but I'm going to share my screen again. My entire screen. Boom. And boom. There you get your depth of field going there. This is up in my this book. It's Bigfoot Real? A new book dives deep into the legend. It's by John O'Connor. And it's interesting because he says right in this book is that this book appealed to his obsession with it all. And or the reviewer said that, I'm sorry. When I heard John O'Connor's The Secret History of Bigfoot, Field Notes on a North American Monster was coming, I knew I had to read it. My expectations were somewhere close to the exosphere. Unfair, I know, but O'Connor surpassed them all. If you're looking for a book that proves the existence of Bigfoot, look elsewhere. If you want a book that's all about discrediting evidence and making those who believe in Bigfoot look like mumbling fools wearing tinfoil hats, also look elsewhere. The Secret History of Bigfoot is a smart, engaging, incredibly informative, hilarious, and wonderfully immersive journey not only into the history of Bigfoot in North America and the culture around, but also a deep, honest, heartfelt look at the people who obsess about the meaning of its myths' lingering appeal and the psychology behind it. And that's all I'll give you on that review. I could read the whole review. It was a good review. It was good enough that it made me want to go buy it. So there you go. That's the there you've seen one of the tabs that was up on my screen there. We can maybe talk about that a little bit. By the way, you see my screen here? This is how I see the chat room. Chat room's right over there. So, boom. And I can just click on any one of these. Boom. And that comes up. There it is. See? Then I unclick on it. There. And I can see like Professor Bauer. He's right here. I can take him out just like that. See? Not, and now I can add him back in. So let me stop sharing my screen now.
So that book was written by John O'Connor. Is that the son of Sarah?
I don't know that. Your curtains are all moving back there. You got a dog back there or a wind?
Yeah, my beasts have come in and said it's getting close to feeding time. So
I don't know. Let's find out. Author.
They come in. I'm talking about, isn't Sarah the Connor in?
Oh, that John O'Connor.
That's Sarah Connor, not O'Connor.
O'Connor.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Connor.
I knew there was
There's no O.
Perhaps
That's why I was
changed,
asking her.
he put the O on there so that Skynet would have a harder time
Skynet
finding
would have
him.
to really look hard to find him.
Well, on the subject of incredible sci-fi stories that
The Terminator.
may be leaking information from the deep and dark to the open and light, have you guys seen, the G.I. Joe series, the most recent films? With
G.I. Joe films.
What's his name? It's a series. What's his name? The Rock and a few others. Channing Tatum and
Channing
so forth.
Tatum. Yeah.
Channing Tatum's playing G.I. Joe.
Oh my God!
Yeah, he has been for years.
If you haven't
I haven't seen any of those movies.
If you haven't seen the G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, it's on Amazon.
I've seen that.
I think
that came out like 10 years ago or something, didn't it?
I think it was 2015, 16, somewhere in there.
Okay, yeah, 10
but
years
holy shit, the tech, and not only the tech in that, but the storyline of nanomites and using that to destroy stuff.
God, when I was playing with G.I. Joe,
oh my God,
we had the helicopter
awesome.
with a little thumb pump button on it. You had to make the sound effects with your mouth. So
this one, they have taken the entire special effects, the storyline, the mech suits that these guys have, the entire scenes towards the end of the movie are just magnificently done. It's on the level of the Fast and Furious with who is that? Is it Vin Diesel and those guys?
Yeah,
and that's another one. Fast X with Jason Momoa in it is their most recent one that came out, I think, last year. Holy shit, these guys! Talk about, as guys, and come on, support me here, bros.
Okay.
As men, as boys, we like to see shit blown up. It's just in our DNA,
extent.
and it's just in our DNA. It doesn't, we don't want to see.
It goes
people
back
hurt,
to the basic question: Are you a Picard or are you a Kirk?
I'm both. I'm both.
I'm both. But
if
I like to see.
I like seeing explosions and things blowing up and stuff like that, and unless it's things that I've actually seen explode and blow up and know they don't look like that, like hand grenades.
Then he lays in bed at night.
It's not a gasoline bomb. Why you got to do that? Like, calm down, Michael Bay.
Watching the ceiling fan, having his PTSD of the choppers flowing in low over the rice paddies. So, that was your former life. You know what I have really liked? A series I enjoyed watching. Raini and I both watch this. The new Jack Reacher series.
Oh yeah, excellent.
That is really well done. Tom Cruise played Reacher in a movie, and that was my first introduction to Reacher. And I thought, unimpressed.
If you read the books, if you read any of the books, Lee Childs writes them. Tom Cruise is in
not.
no way, shape, or form the image of Jack Reacher.
No, he's not.
The show on Amazon actually.
Jack Reacher was a giant, and hugely muscular giant, and he was not.
Alan Richson, who's playing the new Reacher, is just.
Yes.
I mean, he's a mountain of a man, and
he does a great job.
And
he wields his mountain wherever he points it at, and it's awesome.
I love the production quality. The filming's great. There are some aspects of the writing where, like, they may be staying true to the content that Lee Childs wrote in the books. Plenty of people that I've talked to who read Lee Child are like, yeah, Lee Child couldn't write a military scene to save his life.
Right.
The O Club scene where they get into the bar fight, would never happen. Would never happen. No commissioned officer in the Army would try to pick a fight at an O Club, which, when these are all taking place, as O Clubs were on their way out, and all ranks, all service members clubs were what were coming in, would have picked a fight with a group of officers for bringing an NCO in there. They would have been like, okay, he or she is there with these guys, I'm walking away from this. But little things like that irritate me.
Here, I'm going to do it one more time because it's easier than burning a PDF. I'm going to share my screen, and I just want I have one thing to say about the new Reacher. Not Tom Cruise.
Not Tom Cruise. Not Tom Cruise.
No.
And this guy playing look at the size of this guy.
Yeah,
that's Jack Reacher from the books, and he plays the character so well. There you go. They got my picture in there somewhere. I don't know where they found that. You see, you can even see that's back when my hair was a little more blonde, and less white. But there you go. It's hard to hide those pictures, They find them and they use them. So there you go. That's Jack Reacher. So Leslie Holker, I would say to you, if you're not into Tom Cruise, guess what? You can see, go watch Jack Reacher done a better way. And there it is. So,
well, I got to tell you that, I understand all of it's the same thing with Tom Hanks, people going on about him, and
I like Tom Hanks
stuff. And I try to separate the personality from the skill set, because the other reason we know about these people is they've got a specific skill set that seems to be, pretty good for whatever reason. It's just like
they
Taylor
have a
Swift.
Very particular set of skills.
I couldn't give two shits about Swiftie and her music. It's not mine. It's not something I, have a resonance with. But by God, there's a whole bunch of people out there that do.
Yeah.
Now, to Leslie's point about Tom Cruise, if you haven't seen the latest Tom Cruise movie, the
Mission Impossible one,
the latest Mission Impossible,
I haven't seen any of those.
Oh man, it's Mission Impossible-esque. And it's exceptionally good. Just like when
I want to see them, I just haven't. I haven't.
Yeah, the other one is the Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick.
I heard that was really good, and I still have not seen that one.
Superbly well done.
It was a good flick.
I wanted to see that in the theater, and I didn't.
And talk about the big dudes. It's interesting that we're hearing. Particularly, the three of us can relate to this. We are three old white men, and we are colonizers, and we are, the underprivileged class, or at least the diminished class, because we are not good because we're old white guys.
See, I don't classify Jason as an old white guy yet, because
he's getting
when
there.
I was
He's on his
graduating
way.
from high school and going into college, he wasn't even in kindergarten yet.
Well, the thing is that he's being affiliated amongst us because he's hanging with us, so he's already he's tainted.
Guilt by association, Scotty.
His taint is tainted, But what I find interesting is that
Why are you
with
talking
all of
about my
the
taint?
all of the
Susie Q,
all,
Susie Q, I do the same thing. She said she uses movies to escape reality for just a few hours, so I have to have an open mind about who's acting. I can tell you, though, there are some actors I cannot watch anymore. I cannot watch a Robert De Niro film anymore because I've lost so much respect for the man that I can't enjoy his movies.
You know, have you seen Killing of the Flower Moon?
I have not seen that yet. It's on my
Okay,
list.
so your disdain for Robert De Niro will play in well to Robert De Niro's
I know
character
who the real
if you watch that
character is
movie.
that he is playing in that movie,
Yeah.
so I figured he'd be a disgusting person. But see, now I was looking forward to seeing his portrayal. As much as I disliked De Niro, I thought, I want to see that movie so bad because I liked the book and I did a show on the story. I would love to see that movie. And so it doesn't turn me off that he's in it, but I know he's also playing a scumbag. So
Right, which makes it even better.
what?
Makes it even better that he's
Makes it even better.
playing
well,
that character.
and to your point, I mean, the disdain for De Niro as as a person and his bullshit, I think is pretty much shared by most older white men like us. But I got to tell you, his role in The Irishman, the Scorsese 4-hour epic, is superb. I mean, it is exceptionally well done.
Which one?
And The
The Irishman.
Oh, The
If you
Irishman
haven't-
was fantastic.
Yeah.
Loved that.
So there's a perfect example of
He did
somebody
a good
who
job.
can be
Yeah, he did.
somebody
job.
who can be acceptable by playing a character that is not who they are.
Yep.
And
And
that's really
Sandra, to the point, I liked Cape Fear. That came out, 30 years ago?
Oh, they're making a new one.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. I saw it somewhere. There was something about it. And
Was it Ed Norton?
no, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Okay.
Tom Hardy is going to be
I
in
like
it.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah. One of my Susie Q was talking about, you watching a movie for escape, for escapism, which is, it's the entertainment factor. It's why we do. I completely agree with it. I have to admit, I have to be self-aware enough to actually admit to my fault or a shortcoming, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
My
Wait a minute,
ability.
is this recording? Make sure this is recording. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I admit I'm wrong all the time. I don't know about you guys, but
we admit you're wrong all the time too.
Right, exactly.
I had to get my dig in somewhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well done,
My
sir.
turn.
Well done. But I've gotten into it in a few forums here and there with stuff like and Scotty, I know you've been watching it, Masters of the Air.
Yes.
When it comes to something like that, I have a harder time suspending disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because of my exposure to the information, the subject matter, and probably my own military service in terms of connecting with the characters and the level of respect that I see due. So I'm probably harder on some of these things, and probably for nitnoid things like haircuts or like how a uniform is being worn. And,
Or
I
what
have
it's
to
like
admit,
when a grenade actually explodes.
sure. Yeah, that exactly. But it's one of those things where it's like certain things for me, I want to go on an adventure and I want to suspend disbelief.
Yes.
Given that, with the right topics and right subject matter. But with other things like Masters of the Air, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, all of, those greats out there, I don't watch those because I want to escape for a couple of hours. It's because I connect and I identify with the characters, and because I have reverence for the characters. And so it's for me, watching some of those things, the ability to suspend disbelief or to not get frustrated at some things gets difficult.
Sure. Oh, there's certain movies I can't watch. I couldn't watch. Now, again, it's a whole nother discussion on whether you believe the story is true or not. But like Exodus, Gods and Kings, there were things that I look at that and I go, well, come on. Even if you don't believe the story is a true story from a faith perspective,
right?
You at least get the Egyptology right. Can you get some history right? Can you do a little bit of digging and say these even if you think they're fictional characters or mythological characters, they were set in a certain period of time.
Which we have an abundance of
reign,
information about.
Look at the reigns of Ramses the Great, Ramses II. The Exodus does not fit into his reign at all. There is nothing that would indicate his reign. But a lot of evidence that would indicate that it was the reign of somebody 150 years earlier.
Are you talking about like Abydos, Scotty?
Yeah, like the Abydos erasure issue.
Yeah, the supposed erasure that ended up just happening to look exactly
like a helicopter.
something that it's not. Yeah.
Well, have you not seen the breakdown of the different layers of erasure?
Yeah, I've seen people trying to explain it that way, but
to look like a helicopter.
I'm not convinced.
After erosion and erasure.
Wait, what?
You've not seen that?
Somebody found a helicopter buried someplace. What? No.
Yeah.
Or was it
spacecraft too?
Was it
and a boat.
Hieroglyphics and whatnot?
You know the Abydos lintel. It's a lintel piece at Abydos in Egypt, and it's a temple lintel, and it's got what looks like, you've seen it all over the place. It looks like a helicopter next to a UFO, next to a
yacht,
sports car, and
a tank,
yacht or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and people go there. See, there were UFOs. There were helicopters back in 4,000 years ago. Well, what they're missing is what's known as erasure and erosion.
Yeah.
What did pharaohs do? They went in, like Ramses the Great, Ramses II. He didn't build all that shit. He was a great usurper. He built a lot, but he was a great usurper of old things. Erasure. They scraped off the hieroglyphs and they put their own hieroglyphs in. Now, with ultra-red photography, you can find what's beneath. There's remnant of that beneath in erasure. And the Abydos lintel was new inscriptions inscribed in twice after having been erased twice. And they erode back, and you start to see some of what was underneath, combining with the newest. And then they do infrared, and they find out what the inscriptions actually said on all these different eras. So you've got 3 stages of inscription combined with erosion, and then you look at what was erased or they attempted to erase out, red, and you can see how these periodilic images occurred.
Okay,
And,
Scotty, I can listen to and I can see that as a possible explanation.
There you go.
It still doesn't explain how the hell did it end up looking exactly like a helicopter, exactly like a boat.
I don't think it looks exactly like a helicopter.
You could put it up next to us.
Here, let's find it.
I'm serious. I mean,
the Abydos.
Maybe it was originally an umbrella, some sort of parasol that was over
I
something.
just think that there's way too much speculation on trying to explain it away than there is to just looking at it for what it is.
Well, it's like anything. I can say in 4 seconds, I can make a statement. Here's my empirical statement. Blah, 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 blah. And a scholar might come along and go, no, wait, you're not considering the ramifications of context, of location, of weather. Now let's go through each one of those. You can take 2 hours explaining why my 4-second statement is wrong. There's a lot of detail because there's a lot of detail. Let's see. Here, I got a good picture. Oh, it's not a picture. It's a video. God damn it. Hold on. I want to find a good picture of it.
Quick to the Google machine.
Proof of time travel, it says. This is probably a good one because it proves time travel.
Proves it. Okay.
Hold on. I have to accept a cookie to look at it.
It proves it. Einstein would be happy.
I don't want a video. I want a picture.
Well, while you're trying to dig that up, the one thing that I'm going to say, Scotty, is it has nothing to do with time travel in the sense that it has everything to do with time travel, not in the sense that there was actually helicopters back then. Right. I think that there was some information that was provided to whoever the mystic was, whoever the the scribe and the wise man was that was given those images. It wasn't that there was helicopters, yachts, and
Bloody
tanks
hell, I'm
back
not
then.
doing this.
They saw it in the future. So
Or-
I can accept the erasure thing, but how in the hell did it end up looking exactly like a what's that?
I would like to know.
Or
I
here's
mean, that's
here's
like,
another
okay,
possibility. Here's another possibility, Professor.
Explain me, Lucy.
Let's take a look at let's take a look at Da Vinci. All
Keep
right.
going.
Yeah.
Oh, did I just cut you off by
things
doing
that Da
Did I
Vinci
lose
drew up
everybody by
plans
sharing my
for
screen?
that are modern
Oh, there you are.
military equipment,
Yeah.
from helicopters to tanks to a whole host
Here
of
is
other
the-
things.
Abydos lintel.
Okay.
All right. Here's the image. And this is Abydos, the temple you're seeing there. Let me open up this image. This is proof. Now, here's the inscriptions. If you look top center almost, you'll see a helicopter. You see the helicopter?
Yep.
You see the other inscription that's kind of obscuring part of it.
That's clearly Airwolf.
Yeah, clearly Airwolf. They had TV back then. To the right of that is a yacht. And below the yacht is a UFO, a disc-shaped object with a tail fin on it. And there's other inscription down below, a tail fin that's a little larger. Oh, that has nothing to do with an airship. That's something completely different. Then you got all these other hieroglyphs in there. All right, you got the wasp over to the left.
I've got to come clean with you guys.
All right.
It was me.
I knew it.
I did that. I actually figured out time travel. And I just love watching you guys go back and forth so much, and everybody else that
Yeah, there you go.
I messed with it. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well,
it was all me.
that just proves my point that it's not some. If it was erased, they erased it on purpose to look like what it is.
Well,
what there are no Scotty. There are no Egyptian hieroglyphics that explain what those are. There are.
I took I created the whole breakdown of it because it's been broken down to show
what is that. What is that helicopter hieroglyphic?
Can you see my mouse
from
here?
Egyptian?
See my mouse?
Yeah.
Follow the magic mouse. This is not an aircraft or anything. This is a hieroglyph. I don't remember what this stands for, but that's been used here. It's been used smaller here underneath this. It's been used here. Oops.
What's the helicopter mean?
It's not a helicopter. This is actually a hieroglyph right here. This helicopter, one form of this was this tail fin, which is the same thing you see down here in the lower left, which is not an aircraft, which is the same thing you see here on what's supposed to be a UFO aircraft. It's the same one used right here, but you can see it extends out here. It goes into an eye. But there are several different layers of things that have worn away. Now, this is also a cleaned up version of the lintel. You can find a little dirtier. Let's see if I can even get to it.
There's some dirt right there.
Megan Fox has sure changed her look. Yeah, here it is, Abydos. Let's see. So the Abydos lintel, in its form, it kind of looks like this. Here you can see the deep. That's a YouTube video. Let's see what happens if we look at that. Oh, okay, I don't care. Temple of Scotty the First at Abydos.
The flying machine mystery.
That was you, Jason, right? Flying machine mystery.
Yes, that was.
Where it gets to, here you go. There's the look of it. And they're focusing on this. Now, this video isn't dealing with the breakdown, which you can find if you do a little searching for it. I see, here's what they're showing. Okay, here you go. Here is, this is a bow. There was a bow in here beneath the helicopter. Or it was on top of the helicopter. Parts of it wore away. There were other inscriptions down beneath. The same with this. This is to subdue, is what this means. This is a bow. Let's see, what else have they gotten here?
Yeah, there's a nice chunk there on the right side of the bow going down into the next line that's come out of there that would
Here you go.
obscure
This piece here.
Yeah.
Let's see if it goes on and gives us a couple more definitions here. To subdue. The bow again. There's obviously going off on that. I didn't want to play the video. Protect Egypt. This is to protect. This is Egypt. Egypt is usually displayed in the falcon, but you've also got, which I think was part of what this one was, over the top of part of the helicopter. Let's see, to bend, protect Egypt. There's Egypt.
Bend the knee. What?
And what's that?
I said, what was that? Bend the knee. What?
Something like that. Yeah. And so these are the different layers of words in hieroglyph that are there. You got this is foreign lands. You've got to bend. You've got protecting Egypt. Which the UFOs.
Well, what better way to protect Egypt than with helicopters, tanks, and yachts?
Well, there you go. There you go.
I mean,
those aren't yachts. Those are motor torpedo boats.
They're I mean, it
they're
still doesn't
PT boats.
explain how it ended up looking the way it is.
Well,
I mean,
here, this is explaining some of it because they're layered over each other, and you've got erosion plus erasure. So this is showing you some of the names that were involved. Look at this.
Well, there's
your
clearly
yachts.
Here's your. But wait a minute.
Airplane.
Just as an objective observation, yes, there could be layers, and apparently there are, and yes, there are these different interpretations of it. It still doesn't explain why they ended up the way they did. So it's not just erasure. There was additions and alterations that were done in order to get those images the way they are.
Maybe
it was an ancient Egyptian comic book.
Maybe digitally.
Yeah, I mean,
I think what you've got is the absolute. Here, if you look at this, is that a helicopter? No, this is the string of the bow across the top. That's not propellers. That was a bow, and the bow went here.
Where's the tail rotor?
And the top, there's no tail rotor on this because that's not a rotor. That's not a tail of a helicopter.
You notice how that big boat next to the helicopter is the one that doesn't change?
Is that, well, it does change a little bit. Let's
not anywhere near the helicopter model.
Yeah, well, in the helicopter there.
I mean, look at that right there. That boat still looks like my 33-foot Sea Ray I used to have. I mean,
kind of.
I mean, that's still a boat.
Kind of, maybe. And Noah's Ark had this really posh curved arc to the front of the bow, as artists will render it. Now, I don't think that has anything to do with the boat. It's just something that looked like a boat. You know what this looks like? This looks like an upside down cup. It has nothing to do with the cup. I've got a cup that looks just like that. I used to own a bunch of these. I owned a dozen of these cups. And when I turn them upside down, they look just like that. Well, you know what that is? It's the rising sun.
Let's assume that this erasure thing is actually what happened. It still doesn't explain how it ended up the way it is. It doesn't, and there are nothing.
It doesn't have to. You don't have to. It's called.
What do you mean you don't have to?
It's
no,
because
you can't tell me.
Scraped off the old symbols and put new symbols right in their place.
So what do the new symbols mean?
Well, they give you two different layers, 2 and 3 different layers of what the hieroglyph said.
I don't care about the layers. I care about what it is.
Writing of one text over the other is called palimpsest.
Yeah,
it's from the Greek palimpsestos, which means rubbed again.
Right. But now that they've rubbed the lamp,
palimpsestos.
when they got done rubbing the lamp, what does that helicopter looking like
when Ramses II
hieroglyphic
recarved the
actually mean?
hieroglyphs on his father's monument, he created a palimpsest.
But what does it mean now?
With time, plaster's fallen off. This doesn't mean anything now. It means you're interpreting something from fallen plaster, erosion, and erasure, the combination of three different eras that makes something look like something else, and you're interpreting it as the distorted thing. Oh, that distorted thing now, oops, I'm all the way back there. The distorted thing now looks like an airplane. They must have had airplanes back then. So, that's what it is. It's erasure.
I'm sorry, I'm still not convinced, because the thing
with
that
a
needs
scientific
convincing,
mind like yours, how can you not be convinced?
well, that's the scientific mind is the reason I'm not convinced, because when I look at it now,
because he doesn't want to be convinced.
It looks
You don't want to be
confirmation bias.
When you look at it now, you're seeing the combination of three different eras of
That's fine.
inscription and erasure.
That's fine. But now tell me, after this erasure and erasure and whatever changes have been made, what does it mean now? What does that helicopter looking like in a hieroglyph, what does it represent now? There is no explanation for it.
It represents three stages of hieroglyphs that have eroded away.
You're not answering my question.
He's wanting to know what the
I
message.
know what your question is. You're trying to ask, is there some great supernatural thing that has eroded those all the way?
No, wrong.
New now.
He wants the
No.
He wants the translation.
I want to know what does
translation.
I want to know what's the translation of that image now.
With the changes, does that change the actual translation of the
What
hieroglyph?
does it mean now, regardless if it was
There is
changed?
no meaning to it now.
Okay, so I've got even more questions. If this erasure and exposure and all this other crap and stuff was done to it to get it to where it is now, what were they trying to say? What does it mean now that they made those changes?
I don't know.
You guys don't have an answer
looking
for
at
that.
Mount Rushmore in 10,000 years, and the face of Georgie Washington has
You're
eroded away, and
deflecting.
there's nothing there.
No. You're not answering.
And you
the
look
question.
at that and you go, but what does it mean now?
You are
Who is
displaying
it today?
confirmation bias because you want to believe that that's how it got there. I don't care. I'm
don't
saying
have
that
to
if
believe.
that
It
is
doesn't
what
take
happened,
belief on
fine.
my part.
But what I'm asking that nobody seems to
Scientific
answer
examination.
is, what do those symbols mean now? When they made those changes to them, what was their intent? What is the reason
They didn't
for it to
change
look the way it
symbol.
is?
They erased the symbol or scraped it off and put their own symbol in its place.
So what do they mean now?
They mean what they meant the day they were made.
Which is
Oh, that's bullshit.
I don't know what you're asking. You want to know
What
what
I'm
the
asking
combined-
is everything,
what the combined
everything,
thousands of years of erosion.
No.
Now what does that mean?
No, it is there. Clearly, it has been finalized from the erasure, erasure, and whatever else. It's been finalized to look the way it is, right? Because it looks like what it is. My question is, what does it mean when they finalized and fixed it or did whatever they did to it? There, in all of Egyptian hieroglyphics and all of the symbology, there is profound meaning on multiple layers of every symbol,
and each
every
layer
image.
had its own meaning.
Right, but now, so you're saying now that it just kind of naturally ended up being something that it doesn't have any meaning?
No. The original was like, just take the helicopter. The original meant bow.
I understand all that.
All right.
What does
So
it mean now?
Now that the bow is obscured by erosion, erasure, and a new inscription that's also eroded and had erasure and plaster fallen off. Now what does it mean? The original still means bow.
Right, but can you tell me that if you look at that now, that it looks like it's had any kind of alteration?
I think it's had a lot of alteration. I don't think it's been
No. That's not what I'm asking. If you look at it now fresh, you saw it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Does it look like it's been altered or had any kind of erosion or anything else happen to it? It looks perfect. It looks like it's been done like all the other stuff around it.
If you don't look at it with an educated eye, it looks like what you want.
Oh, Jesus. Like. Okay. I don't want the educated stuff. I'm looking at empirical data. What do my eyes tell me?
The empirical
my eyes tell me
data
that was done, but then my eyes are telling me that was purposely done and left that way.
See,
how it got there, I don't know. What's behind it, I don't know.
For this, because this violates just about every other thing that you bring up. You're saying, well, I don't want to know the facts behind it. I don't want to know any of that. I just want to know, what does it look like now? Well, right now
Exactly.
it looks like a helicopter.
Well, see,
Well,
unless
why
you
does it
bring
look
in
like
all
a
kinds
helicopter?
of, unless you bring in all kinds of new tech and toys and telemetry to
That's
go
the
look
beauty of
behind it,
technology.
you don't know what it was. So I'm
That's
just saying,
like
at
at John
naked eye,
Maria's site of Gebel El Silsila. There is where we would always moor the dahabea. There's the Speas of Horemheb. Horemheb was the successor to King Tut, and the general of his armies that became the successor. A Speas is something it's a temple carved out of stone, and so you can go into this temple and walk through it. It's all been meticulously carved, and it's covered in hieroglyphics. It's covered with the family of Horemheb. You see Horemheb. You see everything. Everything in there is Horemheb, 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 all the way to the statues inside the Holy of Holies. But now at the site, they've done infrared photography, and they've found that, wait a minute, this was the Speas of Hatshepsut, because her imagery, her hieroglyphs, her name is all over that place. And the thing is, they carved her out and they put in Horemheb stuff when he took over. Now, if you start chiseling away, or if you have erosion, why did they see that Hatshepsut might be there? Because with the naked eye, after 3,000 years, you start to see there's something else underneath here, and it's forming a little different hieroglyph here. What is it? So they do infrared photography.
I completely understand and agree with what you're saying. My two questions are: one, what does it mean today? Because all of the other hieroglyphs and all of the other panels around it don't seem to have this erosion issue.
Well, it's a lintel. It's the one piece.
I understand it's a lintel. What I'm saying is it seems to be the only one in that area that has gone through this erosion erasure thing. Everything else seems to be just fine.
No, it's not. It's the only one that there's been, that's a helicopter. Well, let's look at the erosion and erasure factor, which exists everywhere in Egypt, on every temple in Egypt, just about every temple in Egypt.
So what you're saying is where that lintel is and all the other hieroglyphs that are around that lintel.
So it shall be written.
None of them have gone through an erosion and erasure to come up with something that looks completely different from the original. You're saying that that's the only one?
Sure. No, I'm not saying that.
I find that hard to believe.
That's the only one that's got something that looks like a helicopter and a boat.
But are
the only one that had a bow and something else put on top of it, so when it all eroded away, it looks like a helicopter.
But are the rest of the hieroglyphs in that area also changed enough to where they have no meaning, or their meaning is completely altered?
I've only studied this one because that's the one that everybody says wants to make a big case out of.
Well,
so there's been a lot of attention given to it.
I think there's a lot of supposition
Erasure
and denial.
is as common as you having whiskers on your face at Abydos, at everywhere in Egypt. So.
Well, and if you go and you look at other photographs from things fallen in that area, Prof, speaking to what you were trying to get at, you can see the effects of exposure and erosion and things like that, where it's literally like chunks have fallen off of a particular thing carved in, like that. It may not necessarily create the, what some would say spectacularly obvious attack helicopter. Oh, look, they had AH-64 Apaches, but they didn't have the D model. They only had the Alpha model.
Yeah, exactly.
Like those kinds of things. But if you look at some of the other stuff that's in the area and you can find these pictures, you can go around and look at it. You'll see where the stone is chipped away, stone is eroded, and things like that.
Susie Q, if I'm understanding your question, so they've remade quite a few. By remade, I'm not sure what you meant, but there was a hell of a lot in ancient times of new pharaohs usurping buildings and scraping off the old inscriptions and putting.
Look what they
for instance, look at Ramses II.
Yeah,
look at his inscriptions. Do you know why his inscriptions are so deep? His inscriptions go 3 and 4 inches deep into the stone. on some places. You know why he did that? So nobody could scrape
erase it.
over it and put a new inscription over the top.
Yeah, you got to putty that up.
Eliminate the stone. Susie, but why would a pharaoh put up a helicopter? He didn't, Susie Q. Have you been missing this, Susie? He didn't.
You're
A
right,
pharaoh
Susie
didn't put up a
Q.
helicopter.
Scotty's living in a delusion of what he wants
The
to believe, and that's
helicopter is the
okay.
result of 3 different layers of inscription that have eroded partially away and
Well,
partially.
and another
They were
great
really
example of that sort of thing that's probably in the more common public
Nope,
eye.
Susie, pharaohs did not have helicopters, and that's not a helicopter on the Abydos lintel. It looks like one, but it doesn't really look like one either. It looks like a kid's toy block version, a Lego helicopter. Maybe they have
a more readily available, probably in the public eye, more commonly known kind of example of this sort of thing going on. Look at King Tut's tomb.
Yeah,
that was literally a tomb repurposed for him, and they went in and they put stuff up over. They expanded area. You will find things where it's, yeah, we're chipping this out, we're carving this because it's no longer this guy's,
right,
burial chambers. It's now for
you're saying, what about the airplane? There's no whatabouts with the Abydos lintel. There's 3 things on there that kind of look like something. Kind of. Not really, though. The airplane, there's no airplane there. There's discs from different eras of inscription that look like let's use the bow again. You had the bow, the straight string, and the bow underneath. That made up part of the helicopter. When part of that bow eroded away, there was a new inscription put up in plaster that eroded away, and all of a sudden you got something that looks like a helicopter.
You've got basically what you have is something that somebody has fixed because of some processes of natural degradation and ended up looking like it does now. When you look at it with the naked eye, you see none of the erosion, you see none of the correction.
Okay, there's a lot of things to look at with the naked eye.
All you see is what's there now. And when you look at it and you go, okay, what does that mean in Egyptology, in the Egyptian language? It doesn't mean anything. Well, so apparently, with all of the detail that the Egyptians went through in their hieroglyphs and symbology and everything else that is very meaningful, this is the one that doesn't have any meaning anymore.
Why doesn't somebody who's educated, though, look at that and go, oh, wait a minute, that helicopter, that actually looks like the old version for bow. Oh, wait, I see. That's underneath that.
You're making a presumption of education. If you just use
but if you have an Egyptologist going in there, if you have somebody who understands the hieroglyphics and the hieroglyphics from the different dynasties and how language has changed and things like that, looking at this object, they're going to recognize that, okay, here is an older symbol from this dynasty, from this period to this period during this dynasty is what they did. Now we see over here, it changed into this shape because stylistic changes, cultural changes, whatever, flair, however, our artistic creativity when making the symbols, somebody who is educated in these things will see that. Common schmuck off the street walking up there and not knowing anything. It's a helicopter. Right. But then the person who has the knowledge because they have spent their life studying it. Okay, so I see where you're seeing an attack helicopter up here in the left corner.
Helicopter, to tell you the truth.
How much fun would that be, right?
So basically what you're saying is that if we use the same logic that you guys are applying to this here, and we apply it to what we saw as our POTUS speaking to the masses last week, that the average person is going to look at it and go, there's something wrong. This guy's obviously got problems. But the intelligentsia, those who are educated, are saying, no, don't believe what you're seeing because that's not what's really going on. If we apply that same logic,
you're seeing a very specific group of intelligentsia
the difference
saying that.
That's a faulty example, though. They're not leaving behind a permanent carved in stone record and gone through thousands of years of erosion.
It might be worse than leaving it on the internet.
Video evidence is pretty much carved in whatever you want to call it, but it's going to live in perpetuity. It will be here 1,000 years from now. And people are going to look at it and go,
be interesting to
how
see
in the
what's
hell did
eroded
you
away in
numbnuts?
1,000 years.
you're gonna
Like I
people are
said,
gonna go, how
you
in
come
how
back and look at
stupid
Mount
were we
Rushmore
back then?
after 4,000 years of nobody taking care of it. What's Mount Rushmore going to look like? Hey, look, there's Homer Simpson, and now that looks just like Homer Simpson. It must
Oh
have been
man, it's the
Homer
Beatles.
Simpson. What's it look
Oh.
like now? It doesn't matter what he was. It doesn't matter that he was George Washington, and that
I think it's fascinating
matters
how
what
you
he
have
looks
all
like
these
now.
obelisks. You have all these obelisks and temples, and I think Abydos has nothing to do with the Egyptian culture. It was created a long time
Well,
before the Egyptians showed up.
it
The
was
Egyptians
parts of it
were
were. That's like
the
you go to
Egyptians.
Giza. You go to Giza. You can
The pyramids
there's
go
so
back
many different
probably
eras of things at Giza. It's unbelievable.
the pyramids probably go back 100,000 years.
They might.
So they adapted, or the Egyptians are
Mhm.
actually a part of one of the remnants of the Atlantean, last part of the Atlantean culture before the devastation. They did not create that shit. They brought it there. So and
They
they
recreated the
adapted.
head on the Sphinx, though.
That
That's
was
not the
No,
original head.
no. The Sphinx goes back
Napoleon
just as
shot
far.
its nose off.
Yeah.
And what is it
What's
with all
it
the
mean
Egyptian?
now? Who is it
What are
now?
they-
Because the
What
nose.
is it with these Egyptians and everybody? All they do is they go around and take all the old folks' noses off.
Yeah, I
What is
know.
that all about?
I don't know.
I mean, do they have some problems with?
I don't know.
with
Let us
schnozzes?
shoot out the nose.
They always shoot off the
mais oui.
nose.
All right, we got to go. It's after 11.
That's it.
What?
These are like the favorite parts of my weekend. Getting to watch you two duke it out.
No troll? You say it.
Oh, you say it.
My daughter wants me to say no troll left behind. I have no idea the context. Very funny to her. But what does it mean now? All right, guys.
Bingo.
We're gonna do it. We'll do a whole show on this where I'll get
That
all
would
the
be fun.
breakdowns and we'll talk about it. So
Well, Scotty, I sent you those links, and I'm serious. You need to watch
I'll look at
at
it.
least watch Caesar's
I haven't had
Messiah.
a chance. I've been so busy all weekend.
And I think it's about an hour long, or at least get a half hour into it, and see what it stirs in your thinking process.
All right.
And then let's do a show on and start from the beginning.
think
Let's
that'd be
talk
fun.
about these
I'll
the
take it into
fact that
consideration.
there's a whole lot of questions that have been raised about the authenticity and the interpretation and translation of the stuff that people hold so dear.
Sure.
I mean, it really needs to be talked about because there's a lot of very serious questions about the origins, the translations, and what they actually
and you
mean.
just apply that to the Abydos lintel and what everybody wants it to be versus
Exactly.
what it is.
Exactly.
So,
You got it.
There you go. All right, guys, we got to go.
Thanks.
All right,
Have a
Professor,
great-
we'll see you later. Have a good weekend. Jason,
Later.
have a good rest of your Sunday. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Everybody else, thank you for being here. It's time to get out of here. It's past time to get out of here. I got to do some stuff with my daughter today and help her disseminate information around the neighborhood that she's willing to pick up dog poop for X number of dollars a week. There's actually good money in that, believe it or not. Do you realize if you charged, I don't know, $15 a house, and you got 10 houses in a 5-block radius. So you got 10 houses. Sure, come pick up my poop for $15 a week. Then I don't have to do it. You go in with a plastic bag. Legally, you can't carry it off the premises. You throw it in their trash container. You're done. And you get $15. That's $150 a week. Let's say you keep expanding that. You get 10 more houses. You can't do it all by yourself. It takes about 15, 20 minutes per house. Start getting your friends in. You go, I'm getting $15. I'll pay you $7 to pick up dog poop, and you keep the other half. I mean, they start making money. So I'm trying to teach my kids how to be a mogul early. Maybe I should get into the dog poop picking up business. There was some guy out in California that had this model, about 10 years ago. And he was making like $450,000 a year picking up his neighbor's dog poop. So there you go. So I didn't want to give the idea away, but just don't come here and do it. We'll do it here. We got Somerset. We are the kings of Somerset dog poop. All right, everybody. You have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow night. And I want to thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Glad you were here. Let's get out of here. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Live long and prosper.